City won the treble. Could they do it again? I don't know, but that was a lot of fun today against Bayern Munich. City won their second game in a row in the Asia Tour. 2-1 against Bayern Munich at the Tokyo National Stadium. Japan National Stadium in Tokyo even. And that was good fun. Once again, City impressed in this lovely new third kit, which is growing on me the more I see it, by the way. And of course, it does look really good on a bunch of world-class players. Who would have thought a bunch of quality footballers in elite physical condition would make this kit look good? What a surprise. What a surprise. Either way, that was a good workout for 90 minutes in Manchester City. Yet again, they did the whole 2:45-minute kind of second, 2:11 to reach 45 minutes thing and changed loads of players. And I thought we learned a lot from that game. Genuinely did. It was a really interesting workout with plenty of lessons and some really encouraging stories, actually. I was really moved by a few players in particular, which we'll get onto. But the overall, obviously, summary of the game was a goal from McAtee. And, of course, Laporte got us the winner. Who's got for them? Mateus Tell scored them in the 81st minute, but City turned it around and went in front. Deservedly so in the end, I reckon, to get the victory. Of course, it doesn't mean anything. We got a trophy for it, but, you know, I'm not sure we're going to think about it. Look, we're not Spurs, man. We're not going to celebrate a trophy like this, you know. It doesn't actually mean anything, but we will take it anyway. In terms of the actual team that started, I'll bring it up on screen right now. There it was. It was Edison. Kyle Walker was named captain. Of course, that's a spicy decision, given the Bayern Munich links. It was Stones, Diaz, Ake, Lewis, Kovacic, Bernardo, McAtee, Grealish, and Alvarez. McAtee was it was in midfield actually. Bernardo was on the right wing. McAtee was in the midfield with Lewis also as an 8. The 2 8s were Rico Lewis and James McAtee, with Kovacic sitting in the number 6 role, doing a cracking Gundogan impression, by the way, which we'll get to in a bit. Obviously, Ake left back, Diaz, Stones, Walker, Alvarez through the middle, Bernardo on the right, and Grealish on the left. Second half, the changes were, I can't remember how many changes there were, but I know Phillips came on, Cancelo, Haaland, Laporte, Rodri, Gomez, Akanji, Foden, and Bob came on in the second half. Palmer didn't get on. I think apparently he wasn't there, actually. And De Bruyne is still recovering from his fitness. Akanji came on as well. I think he came on in the first half, didn't he, for Ake, actually. Peroni as well was on at some point. So basically, most of them got on. And the game itself, it was a fun time. It was a fun time. More minutes in the legs, which of course is all preseason about. And you know, my view on preseason in general is that I don't really think preseason is ever anything other than a win-win situation. It don't matter if you lose in preseason. It just doesn't. It just doesn't matter if you lose. Because ultimately, there's a billion reasons why you can lose. It's fine to not being great, to not play well in preseason, because it's all about getting that rhythm. It doesn't mean anything, and there's so many valid excuses why a player could be out of form. But if you do win your games and players do play well, it's just really nice and a really nice kind of like bonus, basically. And that's what we've seen so far from both of these friendlies. Some really nice stories from a couple of players in particular, a few players in particular, and not necessarily the ones that you would always expect. There's been nice stories from different players, and I like that. Palmer was there, says the treble winners. I don't know, actually. Well, it's just a commentary team said that they didn't notice him on the bench anywhere, so if I'm wrong there, so be it. But he didn't get on the pitch for whatever reason. He wasn't involved today. Maybe it was a knock or something like that. I'm not sure. But either way, the first half, of course, City were pretty decent. I'm going to call out the players that I thought were particularly excellent. I'm going to start with the new man, Mateo Kovacic. I tweeted this about Kovacic, and basically, it's just, I mean, it's a pretty accurate meme if I don't say so myself. Gundogan at 6, Kovacic at 6. Just the Spider-Man pointing meme. And honestly, uncanny level of similarities. I'm not saying Kovacic is identical to Gundogan, but in that number 6 role, you could have, look, if you somehow blanked out his face and told me that was Gundogan, oh look, to be honest, from a distance, it looked like 2020 Gundogan anyway, but if you told me that was Gundogan, I just would have believed you. Playing in that role, the technical excellence from the pair of them, it was so good. It was so good. He just is so smart on the ball, like receiving the ball in pretty much any position, wherever he was, he used it so intelligently, and he drove forward really nicely as well. Like there's a couple of times where he just burst past the player, played nice 1-2s and got forward, and you could tell he's just such a Manchester City footballer, like so assured. Like there's a composure that comes from being as good as you are at that age. Like Kovacic knows that He knows that he's an experienced multiple Champions League winner. He's 29 years old. He's absolutely not scared of joining Manchester City Football Club. It's not pressure to him, you know. He's absolutely made for this level, and I think he's suited this Manchester City side. And to be honest, if I was Calvin Phillips, I'd be really nervous, you know, because, yeah, I would choose Kovacic 10 times out of 10 over Phillips in the number 6 role, which isn't good. Because I reckon if Rodri's not available, Guardiola, as it stands right now, he's choosing Kovacic for that role. I almost certainly think. Apparently Palmer was on the bench. I don't know what the commentators are on about. Sorry, guys. Maybe he's just got a bit of a knock or something like that. If he was hanging around with KDB, maybe he got a bit of a knock. But Kovacic right now, yeah, he literally looks handmade for this Manchester City role as a number 6 or as a number 8. He's going to improve as well. Absolutely going to improve because he's a quality player and we know he is. Kovacic, just class. Jeremy reckons he wouldn't be surprised if West Ham come for Calvin for the cheap. Look, at that point, if I was Calvin Phillips and West Ham came in for 30 million bid, if I was City, I'd probably accept it at this point and let him go because he's not going to play any football as it stands. Mainly as well because Rico Lewis, man. Rico Lewis was absolutely excellent. Rico Lewis was so good as well. Like, Rico Lewis played as a number 8 today. He was everywhere. Technically, we already know he's brilliant, but he was so inventive and so lively. Like, what I loved about Rico Lewis is, like, he played a little bit like Bernardo Silva, not quite silky with his dribbling, but he played at Bernardo Silva level of number 8, where it's like relentless running and inventive movement and really nice smooth passes and very silky smooth as well, as Mullen just said in the chat. Like, a really, really good performance, man. Like, a really good performance. Rico Lewis is an excellent footballer, and he was a natural midfielder as well. He really was. We've seen him at right back for Man City, but he came through as a midfielder in the academy sides before going to a full-back role, and I like him a lot there, you know. He's a creative, relentless, energetic, heart of a lion youngster. Like, this guy has a superstar and written all over him, and he uses the ball well. I mean, I would, as it stands right now, I'd prefer him there at number 6 than Calvin Phillips too, which puts him like 4th in the pecking order. I prefer John Stones, which is 5th in the pecking order. I don't dislike Calvin Phillips, but I'm just looking at the talent ahead of him and thinking, how is he going to get a chance, man? How is he going to get a chance? It just seems so difficult. So difficult for him. And you go through that team once again, and I'll look at the squad and go through the players. Let me bring it up again to remind myself. Yeah, Walker had a pretty decent game as the captain there. Stones was getting forward as usual. Nearly scored at one point. Diaz and Ake absolutely fine. Ake, slight injury, but just a precaution. McAtee got the goal, of course. It came from some really nice plays from Rico Lewis as he burst forward. He cut it back to Alvarez. Alvarez's shot was well saved by Sommer. McAtee there to tap it in. McAtee was nice and tidy, not massively involved, but kept the ball really simply, moved it nicely, got forward and got a goal. What more can you ask for? Alvarez, yeah, decent little run out, and Grealish not really massively involved. Similar to the last time where he didn't really massively get involved in the game, but still absolutely fine. The second half, all those changes, of course, you'd expect they slightly disrupt the rhythm, but there was still some decent moments. Phillips, a couple of poor touches at the start of the second half, but he was okay. He was fine. He just seems a little bit slow compared to the pace of Kovacic or the guile of Gundogan or obviously the complete wondrous brilliance of a Rodri. But I don't know. I need to see some of Stephen Phillips. Cancelo, of course, once again, had plenty of quality. Cancelo is not staying. There's no chance he's staying, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of you would keep him, but I don't think he's staying. I think Guardiola apparently still wants to move him on. Cancelo is such a talented footballer that he looks world-class for 75% of the season. He absolutely does. And I think in general, the problem we get is like every now and then, when we play an elite-level team, his defensive abilities are sort of showing up, It's why, like, late-stage of Champions League games, he seems to make mistakes, or against Liverpool or whatever. Like, we can cover him against, like, the bottom 12, 13 clubs, but against the better sides, we do get caught out a little bit. And I think it's why he looks so good in things like friendlies, but there was a few times when runners ran off him today as well. And I'm not saying he's not brilliant, but I guess watching him again today and seeing him over the past 2 games, it reminded me, as great as he is going forward, I must admit, I do prefer the defensive stability that Man City have got. Like, I know he's so talented, but we have to sort of carry him, when he's on the pitch in a big game, and I just don't think we need to do that anymore. I think we've moved on a little bit. I don't know. I think he is going to go on, but he's still a fantastic footballer. He really is. Haaland had a decent run out. The Port was excellent in his little cameo. Why are people not banging Man City's door down for Laporte? Maybe it's because everyone's scared, admittedly, but Laporte is such a cracking footballer. Obviously so technically excellent. A wonderful passer. Right place at the right time to get Foden's rebound and put it into the back of the net for 2-1. And he's just a cracking footballer. We know this. And I don't necessarily want him to go, but I understand it might just be, the time for him to potentially move on. Like, it could, I understand, but where's he gonna go? Like, Vardiol comes in, I think, is a really good move for Manchester City. So is what Oscar Boobs, Oscar Bob, mate. Oscar Boobs is a hell of a slander name. Jesus Christ, football Twitter gonna be all over that. I just what a type of Oscar Boobs. But either way, yeah, Laporte, I wish him all the best if he does go on. Rodri. Gomez, decent little cameo. Kanji, fine. I've really liked Maximo Peroni, by the way, the young Argentine attack midfielder. He's more of a 6 or an 8, but he played a little bit further forward. And there's a couple of times where he had a really nice touch here and there. Really nice through ball to Foden, which led to the second goal. But there was one particular moment where he tried to play a first-time reverse pass to Haaland, which was so smart. It was the whole slow, fast thing where City were knocking it about nicely, but then he tried to up the pace really instinctively to play through Haaland. Didn't quite come off. I'm talking inches, but he was a really smart player. Peroni, impresses me. He's just a smart footballer with loads of talent. I want to see what Guardiola thinks of him. And if he can hang around a little bit more, maybe improve. But you can see the natural talent there. Likewise, Oscar Boobs. Oscar Bob had a... Oscar Bob had a really... That's a slander name that's going to stick, by the way. It really is. Poor lad. But that's it. He had a really nice little cameo again. I was chatting on Twitter about this, and I feel like Oscar Bob is sensibly going down the teacher's pet role, here. I remember when Phil Foden... Who remembers when Phil Foden broke free? He was obviously a lot younger than Oscar Bob. But the wife downstairs shouting that she does. But he was obviously, you could tell that he kept it very simple. You could tell he wanted to impress Pep Guardiola. The teacher's pet, basically. He was there I will do anything you ask, Pep. I will pass it simply, and I will keep the ball. And I remember a lot of people who hadn't seen Phil Foden going oh, he's all right, this kid, but he doesn't seem to do much. He just keeps it simple. And he was obviously doing that because he was trying to impress Pep Guardiola and trying to belong. And I'm getting the sense that Oscar Bob is doing that right now. But he's doing it wonderfully for what it's worth. He's choosing his passes really sensibly. As Jimmy Grimble said, he looks like a City player. He just looks like a City player. He's playing the overlap pass. I must admit, those simple overlap passes aren't going to be there during the season because Bayern and Yokohama, they're just not tracking the run. It's amateurish stuff defensively in these preseason games. He's not usually that much space for Bernardo to run behind. But what he is doing is he's keeping it very simple. He's keeping the ball. He's not losing it. He's creating stuff. And it's good. And Kai just said, I wish he would try to take a player on once in a while. Well, that's the thing, mate. Right now, as I was just saying, he is keeping it simple for a reason. He's trying to press Pep Guardiola. He's trying to show that he can follow instructions. I know he's a smart man. I know he's a smart lad, Oscar Bob. He's lovely as well. And he's just trying to show that he can come into this team and keep it simple. It's very sensible. And once you get a bit more comfortable, then you begin to express yourself. It took Foden a little bit of time to do it as well. And it takes a lot of players' time. It took Grealish a year. It's hard... It's hard to come in and be a superstar, but sometimes it's best to come in and just show that you can keep the system ticking over. And I thought he was really smart. It was nice. Nico, you were moaning about Kovacic, mate. Don't you backtrack and say he was acting as if he was you liked him. You were moaning about him. Have some humility, mate. Anyway, Pogba didn't get on, of course. Foden snatched a 1-on-1 again. Phil, mate, if you're watching this, I know for a fact that you get in your head when you go through and you start thinking about passing. And I know it's because of what everyone's been saying online. Don't worry about it. Stop it. Stop it. Do not worry about it. You're a cracking player. Be a bit selfish. Stop thinking about the pass always because you used to be such an instinctive finisher. Genuinely, just go for it. Be a bit selfish once again. Either way, though, 2-1 against Bayern. Of course, he made a lot of changes, but in the first half, that was a strong team they put out, and I was impressed. I was impressed by a few players so far on this tour. I looked through that squad, and obviously Stones is excellent. Diaz is excellent. You have no worry. I'm going through the team. Ederson, he was great at the end of last season. Could have done a little bit better with that goal, by the way, but it's a friendly. I'll let him off. Walker, we don't know what's going to happen with Walker, but Stone's excellent in both games so far. You know, got no worries about his hunger. Diaz, no worries about his hunger. Ake, same. Lewis has been like brilliant in that game today. Kovacic, he looks the part. Bernardo, right, if he stays, I mean, so far in his friendlies, he's been cracking Bernardo. He's been really good. McAtee looks smart, obviously hungry as well. Grealish, I've got no doubt whatsoever he'll carry on from last season. Alvarez is Alvarez. Then you go through Ortega, great backup keeper. Carson, world class, of course. Phillips, I'm not so sure on right now. Cancelo will move on. But then you got Haaland, excellent. Laporte, I'm sure will praise for Vardy, which is excellent. Rodgers still excellent. De Bruyne will be nice and fit and ready. Gomez looks way more comfortable as a winger. I'm glad we're just playing him as a left winger and not a left back. We've given up on that experiment, and he looks like a good squad player there. Akanji, no worries at all. Peroni and Bob and Palmer, like, they are talents. Palmer as a right winger, so much more comfortable. Foden through the middle. Look, the way I see it is like it's a decent squad. It's not a decent squad. It's a quality squad. I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried about what we're going to do this season because I can sense that the players are ready to go again. You can just sort of see it. Like, they look happy. They look confident. And you can tell they are natural born winners. I've got no doubt whatsoever. He's not. They are natural born winners. And I do think if Walker goes, we'll replace him with someone. And I do think we'll get Amara's replacement in as well. Look, if we sign Amara's replacement, Vardy to replace Laporte and Kovacic to sign for his Gundogan, I'm happy with that, man. Especially if we bring in some youngsters too as well, like Bob and McAtee and Peroni. It's a stronger squad because those youngsters are much more experienced than, you know, some previously. And I think they're at a high level as well, so I do trust them. Where does Terry Cook play? Oh, that's a throwback. You can miss it. He was a right winger. And we got him on loan from United in 98-99, and he did well for us, actually. Then we signed him, and he was terrible. But either way, I don't know why you brought him up for no reason. But either way, it's a quality squad, and I think those changes will be enough to keep it fresh enough with the young players coming in. Stop panicking, everyone. Stop worrying. Manchester City are going to be excellent. I think it's a brilliant squad. And I still think, as good as everyone else is getting, we are still the elite level here. I do think we forget just how good this Manchester City side is and how good it can be when it gets going. We are powerful, we are focused, and we are brilliant, and we won the treble. Guys, thanks for watching this video. I'll be back later with another. Check out my kit review from yesterday in a bit, and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Bye-bye.